Shalom, children. In our story last time, we heard how Yeshua had been brought before the Roman governor, Pontius Pilate. He could not find any crime with which to charge the prisoner. When he realized Yeshua was from the Galilee, and thus came under the ruling of Herod, he was sent to him to be judged. Herod had asked Yeshua lots of questions, but he had remained silent, and so was sent back to Pilate. Pontius Pilate had then announced to the ruling Kohanim and the large crowd which had gathered, both he and Herod could find no fault in Yeshua. Once again, that should remind us of the Pesach lambs. They too had to be inspected and found without fault, that is, without blemish, in order for them to be an acceptable sacrifice. On that morning, when Yeshua was declared without fault, so too were the lambs at the temple. Yahweh certainly is in control of everything, including time. He truly is powerful and mighty. After announcing Yeshua as King of the Yehudim, Pilate handed him over to the Roman soldiers to be killed by crucifixion. They took off the robe that they had used to mock him with and led him out toward a place called Golgotha. A man named Shimon from the country of Cyrenia happened to be visiting in Jerusalem at that time. The Roman soldiers took hold of him from the crowd and forced him to carry the wooden cross all the way to the place where they would crucify Yeshua on it. At the 3rd hour of the day, which is about 9 a.m., they arrived at Golgotha, or the place of the skull. Yeshua was stripped of his clothes, forced to lay down onto the wooden beam, where nails were driven through his wrists and ankles to attach him onto the cross. Yeshua and the cross were then hauled upright. The crime, which had caused him to be sentenced to crucifixion, was written down and nailed just above his head for everyone to see. It read, Yeshua, King of the Yehudim. There were also 2 thieves being crucified along Yeshua that morning. One hung on his left side and the other on the right. Children, we cannot even begin to imagine how terrible and painful this was for Yeshua. He would have felt great agony with every breath he took. Not only was he suffering from the nails in his hands and feet, but also from the whipping and the torture the soldiers had carried out just a few hours before. And then there was that awful thorny crown which had been pressed down into his head. And now he had to endure the humiliation of being an innocent man hanging like a criminal between 2 thieves. The site of Golgotha was very close to the city, and as such, many saw Yeshua hanging from the cross as they journeyed in and out. As the people passed by, they mocked him, saying, "If you are the Son of Elohim, come down from the cross." Several Pharisees shouted out, "He saved others. He can't even save himself. If he is the King of Israel, let him come down from that cross, and then we will believe in him." Now you may be wondering, why didn't he just come down and save himself in front of all the crowd? That would certainly stop their mocking. He opened the eyes of blind men and raised Lazarus from the dead. Would coming down from the cross be a difficult thing for him? No. You see, Yeshua chose to offer himself up in this way. Remember, he did not defend himself in front of his accusers, but allowed the sentence of death to be passed over him. He chose to drink the cup of death and wrath that was meant for us. There is a word to describe this: atonement. Have you heard of that before? The Hebrew word for atonement is kippur, as in the Moedim of Yom Kippur, or the Day of Atonement. But do you know what the word atonement means? Well, atonement or kippur means a covering, or to cover. Let's hear an example to help us understand a bit more. Imagine a boy named Frankie. He goes out to play with his ball. He kicks his ball a bit too hard and it flies over the fence and breaks the neighbor's window. Oh dear. Now, the right thing for Frankie to do is to offer some money to make atonement or cover the cost of making the window like new again. So atonement can mean to cover the cost of something. That is, to pay for or take away a debt that is owed. But what debt did Yeshua make atonement or cover the cost of? In the Psalms we read, "Help us, O Yah, of our salvation, for the glory of your name, and deliver us and provide atonement for our sins." We owe a debt for our sins. They need to be atoned for or taken away. King David wrote about who was going to take them away. As for our transgressions, you will provide atonement for them. Elohim was going to make atonement so that we do not have to drink the cup of Yah's wrath. Yohanan the Immerser knew about this too. When he saw Yeshua coming to the place of mikvah, he said, "Behold, the Lamb of Elohim who takes away the sin of the world." As the hours passed by, soldiers began to join in with the mockery of Yeshua. "If you are the king of the Yehudim, save yourself." Even one of the thieves who was hanging on the cross yelled out, "If you are the Messiah, save yourself and us." But the other thief rebuked him, telling him they were guilty and deserved their punishment, but Yeshua had done nothing wrong. He then said to Yeshua, "Master, remember me when you come into your kingdom." Yeshua answered him, "You shall be with me in paradise." What a wonderful promise that must have been for him to hear such words from Meshiach ben David. Well, children, that is the end of our story for today. So we will see you next time for another exciting journey in the life of Yeshua. Shalom.
Dry land, no beauty of form that we should desire. He was the man of sorrows, acquainted